So, so the idea I had for my FMP is a documentary called Inside the Mind, which basically focuses on the impact of lockdown and what that did for society's mental health. So whether that be through lack of social interaction or maybe grieving after the death of a family member or friend, or things like worrying about your own or someone else's physical well-being. The documentary I aim to make around 10 minutes long, and I hope to hit a target audience of around about 30 to 45. So in terms of the themes and topics I want to explore, there's 6 main ones. First of all, social anxiety. So the fact that there was a lack of social interaction and there was, due to lockdown, an increased number of cases of social anxiety. And then worrying about someone else's well-being, so where care homes were shut down and stuff, you can see vulnerable family members, so lots of people had mental health problems with worrying about someone else's physical health. And then things like fears of catching COVID, the fact that not a lot of people wear masks anymore or don't sanitize your hands as much. People, there's some people out there that do worry about catching COVID. And then more big things such as like people got made redundant, so can't provide for their family, can't put food on the table every night. That causes anxiety. The economy, it played a big role in the cost of living crisis, and also lots of people lost their businesses. So again, they can't provide for their family, and there was increased numbers of people in poverty. So that again causes anxiety. And then working from home, lots of people are still working from home, so there's still that lack of social contact. So in terms of my inspirations, I watched a couple of documentaries about mental health. One about Freddie Flintoff, who suffered with a eating disorder, and then some others about students, the increased number of cases of students with anxiety, and then this one where Stacey Dooley went around the mental health ward. So in terms of research I want to conduct, I want to do a couple of interviews and speak to experts in mental health, so from companies such as Mental Health UK and then Mind. And also I want to carry out some primary research as well, so I'm going to make a survey and send it out to a wide demographic of people, so that I can get a vague idea of what sort of people suffered with mental health problems post-pandemic, and just so I can get an accurate number. In terms of problems I might encounter, I think the fact that mental health's a sensitive topic, some people might not want to talk about it openly, which might be a bit of an issue. I also want to do a couple of interviews, and I haven't got anything set yet, but I think I'm going to try and get them. I want to get a voiceover as well for the whole documentary, to explain what's going on, and also on places where I film on location. I think traffic might be a bit of an issue from a safety point of view, and also from background noise and things like that. When am I going to conduct this? I want to start production on the 1st of May, but I'm not 100% sure in what order I'll do everything yet. What crew and cast are going to assist you? So obviously I want a voiceover to be in throughout the whole documentary, and then I want, as sort of a cast, my interviewees are going to play a big part in the documentary. And then filming it, bits on location and stuff, I think I'll mainly be able to do that on my own, but if there is a bit that I need help with, I'll need someone else as well. So what would a successful project look like for me? It would have to hit the 10-minute long mark, so to make sure I've covered everything in enough detail. I'd need to explain clearly the impact that COVID had on people, to get my facts and figures right. and then for it to be informative, for the audience to feel like they've learned something, for it to look and sound professional, so I'm going to have to do research into what cameras I'll have to use and what different sound equipment I'll need as well. And then for the information to be accurate, so with my primary research that won't be as much of an issue, but where if I do any secondary research using the internet and stuff, I need to make sure all the websites are trusted. And for it to be interesting for the viewer, I want them to stay for the whole documentary, so I need to capture their attention at the beginning and make sure it's interesting throughout.
Okay, thank you very much, Will. Just a couple of questions. Looking at the impacts of mental health in the COVID years, that's a documentary, that's a subject that's been touched on a lot.
Okay.
How is yours going to be different? And you said in that last slide you want to keep the audience interested and engaged. This is a product that's been done a lot of times. How are you going to do that?
Okay, so I want to mainly focus on how it impacted students, but sort of do it from the perspective of their families as well. So focusing on the student, how it impacted them, how their mental health suffered, but also how maybe their parents lost a business or got made redundant, so therefore they can't provide as much and can't have the same luxuries they did before the virus.
So, how does that match your target audience then? Why would someone you say 30 to 45 years old, why would they be interested in how COVID impacted a student?
Because I want to tell the perspective of a student, but I don't think it will appeal much to 16-year-olds. It's not going to be particularly not entertaining, but I don't think I'm not aiming it at them. I want to tell the story of the entire family, but focusing on the student.
One thing that caught my interest was those secondary focuses that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Around the jobs market, the economy, the theme of working from home. I think for given your target audience, that could be the direction that you go in.
Okay.
That you focus on what has happened to the job market, what's happened to the economy, and how is the cost of living crisis right now linked to COVID?
Yeah.
How is working from home revolutionised or stopped? Revolutionised some industry but hindered others.
Yeah.
That's what stood out. I was like, oh, I've seen lots about the mental health side of things.
Yeah.
That bit, I think, would be a bit more applicable, or maybe a bit taking them from secondary focuses to primary focuses and mixing with your other areas.
Yeah.
Might be a bit more of a direction of travel for you.
Okay.
Are you going to be fronting this up Stacey Dooley, Louis Theroux style? Are you going to be the face of the documentary? Are you going to be a background figure?
I'm not 100% sure yet. I'd like someone else to do it, but I don't mind stepping in if I can't get it cast.
I think that's something that you'll have to consider early on.
Yeah.
Who is going to be the face of the project? You say that your target audience is 30 to 45-year-olds. Could you narrow that down slightly, because that's quite a broad range? Could we give a bit more detail of the type of person you're aiming this for?
Yeah, maybe 30 to 40, so working class people who suffered from the pandemic, who got made redundant or was working from home, or had kids in school that couldn't go to school, so was balancing work from home and homeschooling, so telling the perspective of that as a whole.
Everything you're saying here, if I'm honest, Will, is you're saying that you're making something that's aiming at something that's slightly older demographic, and as a result I just want you to be careful when it comes to the content, that you're not making something that's very student focused.
Okay.
As opposed to something, because you won't meet your target audience then.
Okay.
So that's something worth around your content, the what you want to get across. everything you've been saying is you should be targeting a higher target audience, and make sure your content is around that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sophie, do you have any questions, anything to add?
Yeah, I literally put down need to look insurance statistics, but that you said that, which is really good, getting a survey out to people.
Yeah.
Also, if you are going to do a voiceover or have somebody else looking into it,
Okay.
you've got to consider who that is.
Okay.
Whether it's a woman, whether it's a man,
Yeah.
the age again, because that will all apply to the demographic. So really consider, if you are going to have someone else investigate this,
Okay.
who it is.
Right.
Okay, right. Thank you very much, Will.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All good.